Before this program, you have to suffer through a half-hour mishmash of opinions, weird noises, and Dave Kopel. Somebody's got to keep an eye on them. That's Dominic Dezzutti. Glad to have you.
That's quite the intro, John. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
What did you do wrong to get that gig?
What did I do right? It's the dream gig. It's your lead-in show. It's great. You're welcome, by the way, for the dozens of people we send you every year.
Dozens. Dozens would be right. Working off some sort of DUI working on that show, or what's the...
Almost. My community hours are almost paid off.
That's terrific. Hey, you've done some work. You're a blogger. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about the Senate seat here in Colorado, and what's amazing is nationwide, this is like one of the few Republican pickup seats in the country. They're looking, we can win this. We can win this. We can win this. Where the hell's our Cory Gardner? Who are we going to win it with is the question. And you look at a guy like Michael Bennet, who 6 years ago, by the skin of his teeth and a lot of mistakes by his opponent, became senator again.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm about to give you some credit, John, so try not to let this go to your head, but you have a great statement that the Republican Party in Colorado does not have a bench, they have a folding chair, and you're absolutely right, and it's coming home to roost right now. Here is this opportunity. It's right there. They can smell it. We can have 2 Republican senators in Colorado.
Just like the good old days.
And it's, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't see names out there that can really do what it takes to raise the kind of money and beat an incumbent who, whether lucky or not when he won his first round, knows how to do it.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about Bennet.
Sure.
You talk about the accidental senator. This is one of the luckiest guys in the world. So the seat opens up, and Ritter gives it to him. I mean, what was his elected position before this? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Now, I know Donald Trump is going to go from no elected position to president, but if you haven't done that, at least become a senator. And Michael, by the way, he's a smart guy.
Right.
I disagree with him on a lot of stuff. But he's not what you call a charismatic campaigner. He doesn't connect with people. He doesn't have that pixie dust that a lot of politicians have, where they're able to connect on a really personal level. Am I reading that wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. He's not who you would cut out for typecast for a politician, whether Democrat or Republican. But he has been magically lucky. I mean, when he ran for this seat, when he had no actual election experience, he got Ken Buck. He had Ken Buck after a bruising campaign that really was boosted by the Tea Party. If he would have gone against an entirely different kind of Republican, especially a woman, I don't think he wins, because that whole campaign was based on the war on women. So that luck continues, because instead of having possibly a Cory Gardner or a stronger Republican candidate, right now we don't even know who that's going to be. And this is not a congressional race. We only need to raise a limited amount of money for one district. This is the entire state. You're going to need millions of dollars. You need a lot of time to do that.
There's another factor here, which is Colorado yet again becomes a presidential swing state. We're very much in play. If Republicans want to win, they're going to need this state. And so what happens on the top of the ticket affects what happens next on the U.S. Senate seat, and the other way around. So you want somebody who's going to drive out your voters. And who's that going to be? Now, let's talk about some of the people who aren't going to be on this. Right. We had a state senator, Williams, who I thought would be one of those people who could, if she survived the process, would have been a real challenge for him.
Absolutely. I think, frankly, if you know the playbook they played against Ken Buck, which they tried to play against Cory Gardner, which was this whole war on women, if you can run a solid Republican, ideally a moderate woman, right, you eliminate, you take their playbook and you throw it in the garbage. Right. Now, that doesn't mean they can't start from scratch, but it makes it much more difficult.
So who? Cory Gardner was different. Cory Gardner was different because, let's be honest, he's likable. It's funny. This is the way politics works. Roughly, you got 40% of the population on this side. They will always vote Republican. You got 40% over here. They'll always vote Democrat. You got 15 or 20% in the middle, and they're not turned on by the things that we junkies are turned on to. They like you, they don't like you. They like Bill Clinton. They like Hickenlooper. Why wouldn't you like Hickenlooper? Right. They liked Cory Gardner. What a weird thing that we'd split Cory Gardner, pretty hardcore Republican, to a hardcore progressive urbanite like Hickenlooper. Same voters, But the thing that they have in common is they both seem
Right.
likable. These are nice guys. I'd have a beer with either one. By the way, they are both nice guys, and they're great to have a beer with.
Well, you think about the Cory Gardner's campaign, and you get into politics and the whole policy issues, it really didn't go there. He was smiling all the time. He looked like a Democrat on the trail, smiling in front of windmills, all this kind of stuff. And you saw Mark Udall commercials. He was dour. If you don't do this, we're all going to die. That's why he lost.
Let me talk about your uterus.
He sounded like a Republican. It was like if someone landed here from outer space, they'd be able to pick which one's the Democrat, which one's the Republican. It wouldn't be what we thought. If the Republicans have someone this time around that can not only be that nice person, a woman or a man, but also tap into the energy of the base. As soon as Cory Gardner said, "Yep, I'm in," the other folks in the primary said, "We're out," and the party was energized. There might be a nice guy or a nice woman out there right now, but who's going to be that person and also energize the party and have that secret, almost Reagan-like formula where you can bring the social cons and your small L libertarians to the party? That's really hard to do. You need to grow that bench. You can't just suddenly have it poof out of the air. And the Republicans are paying for the fact that they haven't been doing that for the last 10 years.
Mike Coffman looked like the guy. Mike Coffman has decided, at least at this point, he's going to stay and protect the 6th. As a partisan on this myself, I'm really happy about this. I think Mike could win a statewide Senate seat. I really think he could unseat Bennet. I think he knows he could unseat Bennet. But there is no one on the planet who's a Republican who can keep that 6th congressional district the way it's drawn.
Sure.
And the last campaign he ran was textbook. It was perfect. It was flawless. So he's gonna protect that. So who happens next?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, people are talking a lot about George Brockler, who's a great guy. A lot of press from really doing some Herculean effort when it came to the most recent Aurora Theater movie trial. But frankly, with a young family and not looking or really being that much different from Michael Bennet. So if you're the average Colorado looking for, I don't think he really looks and feels that much different, because Michael Bennet isn't stuck on the other side of the death penalty issue like John Hickenlooper. He's another nice-looking white guy with a nice family. Okay, well then which one do I want? The incumbent or the new guy? Yeah, probably the incumbent.
Let me disagree with you on that one. First of all, as we're taping this, we don't know if Brockler's going to jump in or not. So if it's too late, we predicted it.
If he didn't, I predicted it.
But this one, he has an interest, I've heard, in running for governor. The problem with running for governor, it might be a much better fit, but he's also got kids. The governor's office doesn't pay as well as a Senate office.
But it's local. He's right here in town.
Don't worry.
The Senate stuff. He's flying back and forth.
The taxpayers will pick up the Frontier flight.
It's a problem. I hope he's not flying Frontier.
No, but it's not. We should do a show on Frontier. That would be a show.
You have to guess where we'd actually land and how much we have to pay for the food. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know, actually, one time the mask came down for the oxygen was $5 for the first 10 minutes and then $3 for each additional minute. But if Brockler decides to run, no, I think there is a difference. One, Brockler is a prosecutor. He has spoken to Republicans. He has a different viewpoint. I think the policy differences would be very different. Here's what would be funny, is that the sitting senator will go, "What? You haven't been in elective office. How do we know who you are? What are your votes?" And here was a guy who was never in elective office until he didn't have any votes either. But at least Brockler has been in the system. He has put bad guys away. And I think even though he didn't get the death penalty in that shooting case, I think the state saw what he did and overwhelmingly says, that's a guy I agree with.
John, I think you make a good point about him being a little bit different than Michael Bennet and showing he's had a lot of great press people seeing where he's at on some policies. But here's the thing, let's look at the reality in politics. Beating an incumbent, even a weak one, is difficult to do. Cory Gardner ran the perfect campaign. Mark Udall ran the least perfect campaign, and he still beat him by less than 2 points. So it's not an easy job to do. And if you're talking about this whole top of the ticket thing, and people can argue with me about this right now, it looks like Trump and Bernie Sanders. It's not going to be Trump and Bernie Sanders. It's going to be Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush. If those are the tops of the tickets, and you have Jeb Bush and Brockler on one stump, and you have Hillary Clinton and Michael Bennet on the other, in that middle ground of like who I'm going to want to do, when you see those national ads in your head, it's not going to look pretty. I think it could be a very close race. I don't think Bennet stomps Brockler. I think it's a 51-49 affair, but I don't see how Brockler pulls it out.
And there are some others looking into this. State Senator Tim Neville is testing the waters. He's having a few meetings. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to do this. There's a guy who has actually been elected to something. He's a strong social conservative. I don't know if that
Does he
works in
energize the
Colorado.
base? I mean, he might have one side of the base, but the small libertarians, are they hoping to put some work the doors and put some signs over this guy?
You don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening. I know just as little as the next guy, but I just don't see it happening.
All right, let's wave the magic wand here for a second. If there was a person...
Poof. We both have more hair.
Not me. This works for me. Who in Colorado, if they would run, could win this? I mean, I keep going back, and it's a shame because I talk about we don't have a bench, we have a folding chair. I keep going backward in time. If Wayne Allard ran, he'd probably win. If Hank Brown decided to run, and he has no interest, trust me, I've asked him many times, he would probably do it. I've talked to Gail, don't call me Jane Norton. She's like, no, I've been United States Secretary of the Interior. My days are over. I'm in the private sector now. Bill Owens could pull this off.
But I mean,
none of them want to do this, but we're also going backwards a step where Cory Gardner was, I think, at a vanguard of the next generation of the Bill Armstrong, Hank Brown generation.
Well, I think this is what happens for the Republicans. Had a really long drought of losing major statewide races. When you do, you don't have people that you can go to. That's why this is so difficult.
So you're going to run. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
That's a hell of a magic wand.